Hi guys, so this video is going to explain a little bit about this website, Groove Pizza. It's similar to the rhythm section of Google Chrome's Music Lab, if you checked that out at all. Whereas it has these 3 rows of um, dots that you can sort of fill in, and each one's representing a different instrument to get you oriented a little bit. So that's where your main focus, where your build is going to be. You can also use this circle that's sort of supposed to represent the pizza. By clicking, you fill in a dot, and that will create a new beat that you're adding in. It when you click play, it loads up with this little groove, and you could add to that if you want to by adding in, clicking on different dots. The dots, as you fill them in, as you notice, will create a shape. I just randomly chose some beats, so let's see. Not too bad. And it just repeats that over and over again. You have the option of, by clicking on this center drum set in the middle, of a number of different sounds going on. So like I could go Afro, Latin, then it sort of does some, I think, drums and claves. Yeah, so sort of like a bongo, and then what's called an agogo bell is that high-pitched bell. Or you could go to hip-hop, sort of some more electronic-ish sounds for your drum set. Jazz is going to have a more traditional drum set sound. Bass drum, snare drum, and a crash cymbal or ride cymbal. Rock, again, sort of more traditional drum set. And then back to our techno, which is what we start with. So in this bottom area, there are 3 other circles, which are 3 other workspaces you can use, and they'll loop back to back to back. So you can have like a very long creation. You just click on that circle and it copies over what you just had. So then you can either change it completely. You change by clicking those dots, whether it be in your box or just in the circle itself, to get rid of them. And then you can have a blank workspace that you create from, or you can use the same one that you just had been using and keep it similar. I'm going to change mine up completely. So let me just do that. Oops, that one's in the wrong spot. There we go. So I did something pretty even. You can see that makes a square if it's evenly, and we'll get into the shapes in a second. So that's what that sounds like. And it goes back to the first one. And it passes through. So with regards to the shapes, I'm going to create a new circle just to work through, delete what I have. There's no super easy way of clearing things out, unfortunately. But you can click on, so on this left side, there are a couple of options. Shapes gives you a built-in shape. So if you wanted like a square, that like I did with my second circle, having just a square of evenness going on, you can drag in. I'm going to do something different, so I'm going to use a triangle. And you bring it into first which circle you want it to be in. So the outer circle is like the bottom line, the bass drum. In most of the cases, is the lowest sound. The next one in is usually that snare drum or middle sound. And then the top one is the highest sound, or usually the cymbal in most of them. I'm going to drop it into the snare drum, but then you can also, by rotating around the circle, you can decide what beat you're starting on. So I'm going to start it on 1. Then I'll grab my pentagon. I'll put it into that center circle, and I want it to be there, just to see how it sounds. And then let's grab another square for the outside, the bass drum, and I'll plop it there. And now let's see how that sounds. These are my old ones, and then the new one that I just created. I'm going to go into special, and this has some built-in beats that you could try. So this lab groove was the one that you initially started on. You could try jazz swing and see how that sounds. So it has some different things going on. This one, Billie Jean. Chameleon. So these are backgrounds for those songs. a 3, 4, 5, so it has the square, the triangle, and the pentagon. Rock you, so we will rock you. And then trap. So that's the first one that has all 4 filled in. One thing that just to notice, because I didn't mention this earlier, if you do go into the special ones and use it, it does erase what you were working on. So like what I had built in earlier in these 4 circles is now gone because I decided to check out some of these. So check out these first if you're planning on using one. A couple other things about it. So underneath your little menu bar, I guess, there's volume, so you can change the volume of it. BPM is beats per minute, so speed or tempo of the song. So the next one's swing. Swing changes how the feel of the music is. So if you notice, as I drag this up, click and drag it up, the numbers are getting a little closer to the next ones. That's changing where those beats are happening. So I'm going to bring this back down, and we'll listen to this, just the beginning of this trap beat. Sorry, I forgot to click. The beginning of the trap beat without any swing going on. Stop it there. Oops, sorry. I have to listen through it. Stop there. Now, I'm going to go all the way, 50 swing. Notice, though, that it only applied to the first circle. Go halfway in between that, or let's go to 30. Make it a little less obvious, but I'll put it in all 3 of them. So you can sort of hear. $30 and $30. And then we'll go back to our first one and take a listen. So you can see it's sort of like, it's almost jumping. It doesn't fit with all types of music, obviously. So trap would be a better one to just leave. But depending on what you're doing, so like the jazz swing has the swing going on. And it sort of fits that well. Whereas maybe the bembe probably wouldn't fit well with swing going on. It gives it a different feel. So you can play around with that. And then lastly, there's the slices. So the slices are the number of little beats that are happening. You can go as few as 2. Come on. So it's either an on or an off. You can increase to as many as you want, up to 16. So because this bembe is built in 12, it doesn't have more, but you can add to it, obviously. These last 2 circles just tell you whether or not you want your shapes filled in. So if you want them to be complete, you can, or if you just want the lines, you can have that. And then the other one shows you angles. If you've gotten to angles in math class, it might help you with some shapes. So knowing that, let's see if I can clear it. There we go. If I want my square and then want to check the angles, you know that a square has 90-degree angles. But you can also just, whatever shape you decide to make up, you can play around with what angles are going on there as well. So hopefully you can check that out. If you create one that you like, click the share button and scroll all the way down, and then there's a link that you can highlight, copy, and then paste on Google Classroom. Feel free to share that with the class or just with me, and have some fun with this one.